Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to lesson 9 of the MyListing course, Recreating the Canvas Starter Site. Today's agenda is to set up all things WooCommerce. Before we do that, let's quickly recap lesson 8, which had to do with setting up transactional email, creating a custom login page, a custom registration page, and a custom lost password page. So transactional email it's the emails that go out that are for password resets, account activity orders, things of that nature. So you need to ensure that transactional emails are effectively delivered not only to you, but your customers, right? So that's transactional email. The custom pages for login, registration, and lost password. Those come from many requests from clients to do that sort of thing. So I created a video, which is one of, if not the top watched video on the MyListing Club's YouTube channel. So super popular solution. People seem to really be loving it. So in the previous lesson, we set that up together, okay? All right, so that is the recap. And like I said, in this lesson, we're gonna do all things WooCommerce. So let's go ahead and dive in. Looking at the project template to see where we left off, you will see that we are in the WooCommerce column, and we're gonna knock out this entire column together in this video right here. Okay, looking at the first step here, the intro, we don't need to go into that, except what I will say, if you're not super familiar with MyListing as far as the e-commerce side of things, WooCommerce is a required plugin. It is the e-commerce engine behind MyListing websites. If you've been in the WordPress space for any amount of time, you've most likely heard of WooCommerce by now. So that is what we will be looking at today. One of the first things you need to do is install the plugin. However, we've already done that because when you install the MyListing theme, it prompts you to install the required plugins, one of which is WooCommerce. Okay, so we already have that plugin ready to go. And then we're just going to run through the various tabs and set all of that up, okay? All right, I'm gonna move this over to my other screen, and we are in the dashboard now of Canvas, and we wanna go to settings and then general, because I wanna point out first, this email address that you put in here for the admin email address is gonna come into play as we move along. So I just wanted to point that out one time so you'll know what I'm talking about. Okay, so let's go get into WooCommerce. So for that, we go to WooCommerce and then settings. And like I said, we're going to run through all the every tab that we see here, and then we're going to add a couple others as we go along. A lot of this you will find is personal preference. It's based on your business. It's based on where you're located. It's based on what you're selling. A lot of personalization choices are made here. Okay. First up here is in the store address section is just all of the information about your store, where it's located and such. Under general options, we have selling locations. This is an important setting to define where it is that you want to sell to. If you're not selling globally, specify your specific country, or do the opposite and say all countries except for. So definitely choose something there that applies to your business. Shipping locations, if you're not shipping products to anybody, absolutely turn this off. I actually do this for the starter site because the majority of MyListing websites out there use WooCommerce for the listing packages, listing subscription packages, the promotions, things related to MyListing. I have seen a number of MyListing websites that are actual full-blown WooCommerce stores with other products outside of what is needed for MyListing. But even then, the ones that do shipping, it's a very small amount that I've ever seen do that. And again, the website owner can toggle that on if they purchase the starter site and they want to toggle that on for shipping. I just disable that just to simplify things, clean things up. It's one less thing to worry about. When we do that, you'll see this shipping tab completely will go away then. Default customer location, it's another preference. I usually just go with the no location by default. But you can choose to even geolocate. So use the customer's actual location to locate them and to pre-populate information if you want to. We'll get into that a bit later. But I use no location by default. If you are needing to mess with taxes, tax calculations, you would enable this and configure accordingly. Enable coupons if this is something actually that clients asking a lot. Ryan, where do I go to configure my coupons? Can I have coupons? Yes, you absolutely can. It is enabled, as you see here, by default. If you're not going to offer coupons, toggle that off. It cleans things up just a bit more by removing areas of the WordPress website related to WooCommerce coupon functionality. Okay, but let's assume that coupons are going to be used. To get to those coupons, we go under marketing and coupons. Not sure why WooCommerce chooses to create all these submenus, but they do. Maybe it's for some particular reason, but you come in here and you could create your first coupon, or you can click here to learn more about those. And this is where you would manage all things coupons in this area. Good. Moving on down, if you are going to do coupons, you can choose this option right here, optionally, to calculate coupon discounts sequentially. When applying multiple coupons, you define how those are applied. So I'll let you guys review that and get into all that. I typically, if I enable coupons, I just roll with this top setting and just leave it unless I have a very, very specific use case. Currency options, that's going to depend on where your business operates. Same with the currency position. These are personal preferences down here, the thousand separator, the decimal separators, and the number of decimal points in your pricing. So set that accordingly. Moving over to products. First up is our general tab here. It's going to default, our shop page is going to default to our shop page. When you install WooCommerce, there are certain pages that are created for you by default. Shop is one of them, and it's automatically set here, so you are good to go. Add to cart behavior. I like to redirect to the cart page once somebody adds a product to their cart. And the reason for that is if you look in the header of my listing, you'll have this cart icon. And if something is added to the cart, this will show a little indicator. However, clients sometimes don't know that and have a hard time figuring out where their cart is. So by automatically just taking them right to the full-blown cart page and showing them what's in their cart, that to me is more customer friendly as far as their journey goes. It converts better. They can always hit the back button, or they can always use your header your navigation to get where they need to go if they need to go purchase something else or go back to the shop or whatever. So, but that is a personal preference of mine. Up to you what you want to do there. I'll leave this default setting here for enabling Ajax. Placeholder image. When you go to create a product, there's going to be an option to add a product image. You can create those unique images for each product if you want, but if you're going to have a set of products that have the same image, then this is where this comes into play, because it's just going to automate that for you. So for that, you can come over to your media library, find the image that you want to use for your default product image, and you can always override it. So just because you specify something in here doesn't mean you can't override it later. So you would just click on the image, click on this copy URL to clipboard option, go back to the settings and just drop that URL in there. Okay. So now, like I said, when you go to create your next product, your first product, that product image is going to just fill in for you. Personal preferences down here based on country and whatnot. Weight unit, we would use pounds here in the US. Dimensions unit, we would use inches here in the US. Reviews, typically my listing sites aren't going to have, back to what I said earlier, typically my listing websites are just creating products for the purposes of the listings and the promotions. So all things having to do with listing. On some occasions, I do see shops that have products where reviews are useful. So they sell T-shirts, for example. All right, let's allow people to do reviews for those. If you are not going to be in a situation to where product reviews make sense, definitely uncheck this, because once I do, you'll see how this removes a lot of items. So it really cleans things up there. Okay, totally up to you what you want to do there. Moving over to inventory, if it goes along with this, if like t-shirts, for example, yeah, you want to keep track of the stock, because let's say you only have 20 t-shirts to sell. You don't want to take 50 orders for t-shirts because you can't fulfill them. So you need stock management. If you don't need to keep track of how many items that you have available for sale, again, definitely uncheck this. Look how it simplifies things. All right. Let me see what I do on the Canvas side. I think I disable that. Yeah, I disable that. It's one of those things. If you happen to purchase the starter site, or you're using the starter site as part of the Manage My Listing service, we'll just go ahead and you'll say, hey Ryan, I need stock management. How do I do that? I would just enable that. So it's not a big deal. So I go with the majority there, which most people won't need stock management. All right. So that is that. And up to you if you are doing stock management. I feel like this setting should actually disappear too. I'm not sure why WooCommerce doesn't do that, but anyway, up to you what you want to do with those remaining settings. I'm going to click Save Settings here and move on. Downloadable products. Again, this is one of those that does not apply to most MyListing websites, but if you have any digital products that are needed, that can be downloaded, PDFs, for example, then this section would be for you to configure. I've never seen this on a MyListing website in use. If you're going to use that, then this next one over, approved download directories, comes into play, and you can choose which directories within your website are approved for supplying those downloads. If you want to get really granular with things, if you're not going to use the downloadable products feature, then you could run a really tight ship and come over here to the approved downloads directory, select all of them, and click disable all. Just to plug that potential security hole. If you know for certain you'll never use these, you could go in here and choose delete permanently and click apply. All right. In between these two options, downloadable products and approved download directories, if you get the Canvas starter site, there's going to be a vendor submenu link in there. So to get that, we're going to add a plugin, which is WooCommerce Product Vendors. I supplied the latest version of WooCommerce Product Vendors for all starter sites, and that is to show the ability to use this with MyListing. I can't license this plugin for you, but like I said, you will get the absolute latest version if you happen to obtain a starter site. And that will work for you for quite some time. The updates to these plugins, like WooCommerce Product Vendors, don't happen frequently. So you get to use this plugin for quite some time before you need to even worry about paying for your own if you want to continue to use it. You're going to get a message here that says we need to do something in the database. So to update the database, you click the Start Migration button. Just let it do its thing in the background there. All right, good to go there. So now let's go back to our WooCommerce settings. We're going to refresh the page. I don't know what I was doing there. We're going to click Save Changes, and this will just refresh for us. We now see the vendors submenu item here, so we're going to click into that. This is where you configure all things related to WooCommerce Product Vendors. These are global settings for things like payments up here at the top, what to display in this bottom section. So for the payouts, they use I wish they would give us more options, but right now they just give us, PayPal as the option. So up to you if you want to do manual payouts, weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly. And then when you're in testing mode, which Canvas is in, obviously you want to use Sandbox, and you want to put your Sandbox PayPal keys in here. And when you're ready to go live, you would switch this over to live and then put your live keys in there. Default commission, do you want it to be a percentage or a fixed amount? So 20%, 10%, 15%. For fixed, it'd be like $10, $15, $20. And then you would set that amount here for whatever you want the commission type to be. Logging, enable this when and if, only if you are experiencing issues and you need to log data to troubleshoot. Do not leave this enabled permanently because it will fill up your database and add more overhead to your server. It's just more work that your server, WooCommerce, WordPress, it's adding to the work that those entities need to do. So definitely do not leave that enabled forever, just long enough for you to troubleshoot the issues. Okay. Down here, again, it has to do with display options. Do you want to show the vendor's name? So it's going to say sold by and then the vendor name next to the product. Show vendor review, show vendor logo, show vendor profile. I leave all of those enabled. And lastly, in the product section is the advanced submenu. And this has to do with product attributes lookup table. And totally what you want to do here, totally up to you what you want to do here. I would definitely enable this top option. And this next one down here isn't super critical. You can leave that as the default option. It will be fine for 99.9% of websites out there. You can Google this information if you want to learn more about this, but I roll with the top one selected, leave the bottom one as is. Product image matching by SKU, 99.9% of MyListing websites, that will not be even come into play, so I'm just not even going to talk about it. We're going to save our changes there, and we are good to go with the products. All right, next up, we move to the payments tab. And I want to quickly address this message up here at the top. This is, we can just dismiss this because as of now, if we go to plugins, we see here that WooCommerce is displaying 8.8.3. 8.9.0 was released and pulled back. So for whatever reason, maybe it's a security reason or they broke too many sites. So that will allow me to bring up another point, which is you got to be super, super careful when you update WooCommerce. I always recommend doing major releases. So that's what I consider like the .0 releases. So 8.9.0 is a major release. If we go to view the details of this and go to the changelog and then go see changelog for all versions. If you look here, 8.9 was released on 5/14 is now the 17th. Look how massive this update is. It is just not, it's no wonder that issues came about from this. It's huge, it's humongous. When you see that, I recommend testing and staging before rolling out big updates like that to your live website. But anyway, this message is because of that. So it's just, I think WooCommerce has fumbled this particular thing here. They're saying you need an update from version, security update that comes with version 8.9, but they're not even giving that to us via our WordPress dashboard. You'd have to go out and manually grab that somehow, which I would not do. But we're just going to dismiss that for now. That message will go away with 8.9. All right, let's go back to our settings here. And we were in the payments tab. Okay, so you have options. Again, one of those business preferences. A lot of times I will see WooCommerce payments installed because WooCommerce kind of pushes that on people and makes you think that you need it. You don't. You can use it in a lot of cases. It's not the end of the world. Just do your homework and research this stuff. Don't just install things to install things. Okay. What we're going to do here is we're going to use Stripe. So because we're going to replicate this site from beginning to end, we're going to test some orders and things together in the future. So I'm going to set this up, just like the Canvas site. So to do this, we're going to go to plugins. We're going to add the Stripe payment gateway. So I'm just going to come in here and do a search for Stripe. And we are going to go with this one right here. This is we'll call it the official plugin. You see by WooCommerce. So let's install that. And activate it. Okay, so let's go back now to WooCommerce. Let's refresh our payments tab, and we now see Stripe is there. Okay, we're going to toggle that on. Once that's toggled on, it's going to take us right here into this section. And you can, if you're new to Stripe, you can just click on this button and get started with that. So I'm going to click that, and I'm actually going to get out of this because this is I wish they would somehow find a way to do this in a new tab, but they don't. They take you away from your site. They may redirect you back to your site. I'm not 100% sure. I've never actually gone through this. I've just done it manually. And there's a weird link here, return to WooCommerce Inc. Let's see what that does. Yeah, so that's weird. It actually takes you back to your website. So, all right, there's that. Well, it's not going to let me. It's going to make me go through that. All right, that's new. All right, let's just go through with this then and see what happens. I'm going to pull this to my other screen here just for privacy because I don't know what it's going to show here. So I'm going to just log into my account. Yeah, actually, I don't want to do that because it's trying to create a new account. Okay, we're going to do this a different way. We're not going to use Stripe. I've got instructions in the project template for how to do it. And I've got a guide and stuff on it. It's really, really simple to set up. I'm not going to be able to do it. Let me try. Actually, let me try one more time before I don't want to create a new account, but it's not allowing me to connect with one. Let's see. If you're completing this form and have a Stripe account, you can use the same email. All right, let me give this a shot. Okay, it looks like this is promising. All right, so bear with me one second. I'm just authenticating here to my Stripe account, and it looks like we may be able to actually get this to go, which is good because I really wanted to show everybody this. Now I just need to find where my authenticator. There it is. Okay. I've got 2FA. Guys, I recommend you put two-factor authentication on everything, especially something as important as your payment gateway. Anything that requires payment information, 1000%, put 2FA on it. Verify your login. I apologize, guys. I didn't think this was going to do this. We may just have to abandon this, but I'm going to keep trying my best over here. Yeah, it's not letting me do it. Okay, it's not a huge deal. You're not missing out on a whole lot. I'm gonna try one more time here on the code, and if it doesn't work, we're gonna do something else. Okay, we're gonna do something else. It's not letting me. It's not letting me connect to my account for some reason. So it's like it's only user friendly for setting up a new account. You know what I'm gonna do? This is what I'll do. I'll just quickly show you this on Canvas. There's nothing secret about it. But I'll show you what you would have had. Okay, so basically this is what the settings would look like. You come in here, you enable, Stripe is enabled, obviously. We want to put it into test mode until, kind of like with our product vendors, the sandbox mode, test everything, and then flip it over to live. Obviously, I want Canvas to be in test mode forever because I don't want to take real life payments. We're just doing test payments. You put in all your keys here. Fill in your test keys and your live keys. You can click test connection. But I've got all of this in guides and stuff for you guys if you want to check all of this out. Make sure you put all your accurate keys in. Make sure you test the connection, all of that. You can adjust some information here, like what information is shown in people's customers' bank accounts, things of that nature. It's dead simple to set up, okay? Stripe is my recommendation for payment gateway. I hate PayPal with a passion. Unfortunately, we have to use it in some cases. If the MyListing Club uses Stripe and PayPal, if I started the MyListing Club business all over again today, I would have never enabled PayPal. I would have gone with just Stripe, and that's it. Just do what you want with that information, but PayPal can be a nightmare to work with. All right, so let's go back here to payments. I'll go ahead and remove Stripe here. So I apologize for that. But anyway, you saw what you would have seen anyway by seeing the live Canvas site. But what we're going to do instead, let's go back to WooCommerce. There's another way to do this. And this is another way. This is actually a good thing. This is another way to test your payments without worrying about a payment gateway until you're ready, right? So we can just do cash on delivery. Okay, and if you click into manage for cash on delivery, you'll see there's nothing we need to do because we're just testing this, right? Okay, so that's the payments tab. I've seen people go with other companies like Braintree, Square. You got to do what's best for your business. But in a lot of cases, when I get a hold of a client website, then we often switch over to Stripe pretty quickly. Okay. All right, accounts and privacy. Remember, we're not there yet. Okay, jumping ahead of myself. What I like to do here is I like to not allow guests to check out. I want to check this box here to allow customers to log into an existing account during checkout. But the overall thing is I don't like guest checkout because I want them to have to create an account. I want to be able to track everything and that sort of thing. But that's a personal preference. Do what you want to do there. Account creation. I like to enable everything in this section. These are the two of special mention. The first one is when creating an account, automatically generate their username. WooCommerce will automatically generate a unique username for everyone. In my opinion, there is no need to put the user through the process of selecting a username. It's just friction that you don't need to put there on the customer. You don't need to put that on them, right? You want them to have as less friction as possible, get into your store as a customer and be on their journey, right? The same thing applies to the next setting. When setting a password, just let WooCommerce automatically assign a strong password to them so they don't have to think about it. They can always reset their password later if they really, really want to. The other thing too is it covers your butt. You are ensuring that a secure password is being assigned to your customers. And lastly, performance. If you don't do this, you're going to display a password complexity mechanism to the client, to the customer that is a performance, is known to be a performance, not a killer. I don't want to use the word killer, but your site's going to take a performance hit because in order for that to be displayed, that mechanism to work and all of that stuff, it takes horsepower, a bit of server horsepower, right? It's just adding unnecessary friction. There's just no reason to make people come up with passwords anymore. Let WooCommerce generate it. They can copy the password, put it into their password manager or whatever they have, or like I said, reset their password in the future. Account erasure requests, I like to enable these. I believe that people have the right to request for this information to be removed from the system if they no longer want to be a part of your business. So I check all three of those boxes. Privacy policy, there are two areas here that you can configure, the registration page and the checkout page. Typically, this information will be the same. You can make it the same. They are slightly different here, but this little short code where it says privacy_policy, that just is going to inject a link where they can click onto those links and go straight to your privacy policy, either during the account registration process or as part of your checkout. Okay, you can obviously inject your custom text in there and make edits as you need to. Personal data retention, this just determines how long stale information, potentially unuseful information, will stay in your database. Okay, it depends how tight of a ship that you want to run, but you can come in here and you can say, let's say if someone has a canceled order, I only want to keep those canceled orders for a month. And then after that first month, just flush all of the canceled orders out of the system. I don't need those anymore. That's information I don't care about. So up to you what you want to set in those areas. Moving on to emails. So remember I showed you before that administrative email under the WordPress general settings. We see that that email is automatically populating the recipients of these various notifications. So new order here is going to be sent to this email address. You can click into the manage option here and you can do all kinds of things here. All right. Disable the notification, add additional recipients, change the recipients, change the subject of the email, the heading of the email, add additional content to the email. You can even get into adjusting your email templates, things of that nature. Okay, and you can decide what you guys need to do there. All right, moving on down, when those emails come into the customer. So let's say, for example, where is it at? Like a new order or order something, completed order right here. We're going to send that to the customer automatically. Okay, so when we do that, what should the from name be in the email? So that determines that. The from address is going to automatically populate like those other ones I showed you. So you can change that if you need to. The header image, let's see what that is. By clicking on this link, it's going to bring up a preview of our email template. We see here that there's no image. So if we go here and we want to put a header image in there, let's do it the same way that we did that product placeholder image. So if we go to media, let's say we want to make this our header image in our email. We're going to copy that URL to the clipboard, go back into the settings, put that URL in there, save our changes, refresh our email template, and there you go. Obviously this purple doesn't look that great with that. So we come back here, we can change this base color. We can change it to our accent, or we could just change it to say black. So let's change it to black, refresh. That looks pretty cool. Otherwise you could come over and go into theme options, theme tools, theme options. And if you don't have your accent color memorized, just grab it from here. Let's drop that in. There we go. Maybe you like that look, totally up to you, but you can adjust all of this. The background of everything, this background, content background, the text, totally up to you what you want to do there. Okay, so we will roll with that. See, actually, I'm going to match it to Canvas just because I want to. Yeah, we went with that. Okay, so next up would be this right here. So if we look at the bottom of our email template, we see that our site name is followed by a dash and then built with WooCommerce. Obviously, we don't want that WooCommerce in there because we don't want to link to them, especially. So we can come in here and we could do something like, tooltips are killing me. Take that out. Cannot get rid of these damn tooltips from WooCommerce. So let's inject our site title and then let's paste in, because we can use HTML, we could do a break and then paste in this, which would be a link to our site. Okay, so we are saying site, inject the site title, and then let's put a break, a line break. And so on that next line, let's put a link to our website and say, hey, let's visit our site. So let's save changes and see what we have there. There we go. That looks good. This is the name of our site. Visit our site will take us right back to our site. All right, moving on down. Store management insights. Enable email insights. Receive email notifications with additional guidance to complete the basic store setup. Hell no, I don't want WooCommerce to send me spam. Not doing that. Vendor support email address, that is for your vendors. So WooCommerce product vendors, if your vendors have an issue, a question or whatever, this is how they reach you and this is who they will reach. So adjust that email accordingly if you need to. All right, moving over to integration. This again has to do with geolocating the addresses, the locations of your customers. So back here under general, right here, default customer location. If you're using geolocate, that is going to require you to go into this integration tab and configure MaxMind. All right, I will let you follow this link to read about it and see what all is involved. Next up is the Advanced tab. By default, WooCommerce will create pages for you. The critical pages it needs to operate, which cart, checkout, and my account. And there's also that shop page I mentioned earlier. It also wants you to have a terms and conditions page. This is why I said earlier in a previous lesson that with MyListing websites, you pretty much need to assume you need a terms and conditions. If you're running a store, you need terms and conditions. Check out that lesson. Check out Termageddon. There's a deal, guides, all that kind of stuff from the club. But we created that page together in another lesson, and we specify it here. Checkout endpoints. I've never seen these changed in account endpoints. I've never seen these changed. But by all means, if you want to have a go at that, go for it. REST API. I've never seen that. 99.9% of MyListing websites won't get into that. The same thing with webhooks. 99.9% of MyListing websites will not get into that. Legacy API will be going away with 8.9, as it says here. WooCommerce 9.0. Sorry, not 8.9, 9.0. So that would be going away in the not too distant future anyways, but I've never seen that used. Let's go to WooCommerce.com. I do not want WooCommerce to track anything that I'm doing. So I uncheck both of these. Moving over to features. HPOS, I've done a video on this, high performance order storage. If you have orders that are still in the old legacy, so this WordPress post storage, if you still have it in there, some orders in there, you'll see a notification here that says something about syncing those. Go ahead and check this box and then click on the sync orders button, which will appear down here, or a link. Click that. And then depending on your host, how good your host is and how fast it can go through everything. If you have a handful of orders, it'll be super fast anyway. But if you have like a number of orders in there, just come back, check that box, click synchronize, save your changes here, and come back to this page and just refresh it like every 5 minutes maybe. Once it says that the syncing is complete, you're just going to remain on this HPOS option and you're going to uncheck the compatibility. You don't need that any longer, and then save your changes. Okay. All right, so we're going to roll with HPOS, and we're not going to check this box for reasons I mentioned. Analytics, that's a personal preference. If you never plan on looking at your WooCommerce analytics, you got to be realistic with yourself. Are you really going to ever take the time to do that? If the answer is no, uncheck this box. Otherwise, you're storing stuff in your database, adding more load to your server and whatnot. Uncheck that. If you think you're ever going to look at it, go ahead and keep that enabled, and you find that information right here under this analytics submenu item. All right. Order attribution. Enable this feature to track and credit channels and campaigns that contribute to orders on your site. So I'm going to show you this. So I'm going to pull up some orders from the actual Canvas site here. Bear with me 1 second. All right, here we go. So if you enable this setting right here, keep it enabled, that is, what's going to happen is this column, this origin column, is going to be added to your orders table. Okay? If you click into the order, if you click into the order or click into the origin, the attribute, you'll find this order attribution box right here, and you can expand the details and it'll give you some more information. Okay? So it's up to you if you find that useful enough to keep around. Again, it's adding to your database, it's adding to the processing power. If you've already got something like Google Analytics going on or another analytics software that's tracking this, then you don't need to double up. If you don't want to invest the time, money, or both into setting up an analytics solution outside of this, then this is a nice way to track that with very little effort and not spending any more money. Totally up to you there. All right, we're gonna go ahead and just leave that enabled by default. And then moving on, I'm gonna show you this too. So this is Canvas. So this is back to that HPOS thing I was telling you about. This is what the syncing will look like. So you would check this box, save your changes, and then you'll see it starts to sync. And you just want to wait until that is done syncing, and then you follow the steps that I gave you before. I wanted to point that out. Okay, so moving on down, we've talked about the analytics, the order attribution, experimental features. Anything that's experimental, I typically just avoid. It says here, use at your own risk. All this setting does is give you a newer, like a more modern way to add products to WooCommerce. It's not a huge deal, but you may want to tinker and play with it. All right, totally up to you there. All right, we are not going to check that, so it's going to save change there, and we will move on. The last bit here is subscriptions. That will be this last tab here that we do not see. So for that, we need to add the WooCommerce subscriptions plugin. Just like WooCommerce product vendors, I can't license this plugin for you, but you're going to get the latest version at all, always going to get the latest version. And I set everything up for WooCommerce subscriptions. We will do that in another lesson, but I want to go through the tab here. So once I refresh the screen, we're going to have a subscriptions tab. And we're going to click into that, and we're going to configure this together. Without going too heavy into the weeds. So what this does is it adds a listing subscriptions product option. So again, going to get into this in another lesson, but it adds a listing subscription option, so you don't have to just use MyListing's default listing package option. All right. So this right here, the button text, this is just simply the text that's going to show, when they go, if they go to your shop, for example, and they see it listed as a product, what's it going to say, in the cart. So add to cart button text. What's it going to say in that button? You can adjust that. And then a place order button here. Man, WooCommerce is killing me with these tooltips. So you can adjust that text. Roles. Choose the default roles to assign to active and inactive subscribers. That's totally up to you. Like I've seen some website owners change the default role for whatever reason. It's totally up to you what you want to do there. It's more of a preference. I'm trying to get back to my settings over here on Canvas so I can make sure I am configuring them exactly the same. I just roll with the defaults. So subscriber default role is just like it says, subscriber. Inactive role is a customer. This is an important one that I always check. Allow $0 initial checkout without a payment. Allow a subscription product with a zero initial payment to be purchased without providing payment information. So this really helps eliminate friction with the customer. If you have a product that you don't need to charge for it right now, but you will eventually, let them go ahead and purchase it and check out, and then you will capture the payment, when that time comes, right? As it says here, the customer will be required to provide a payment method at the end of the initial period to keep the subscription active. All right. Very, very important setting, in my opinion. Drip downloadable content. We're not going to get into that. I leave that unchecked here. Customer suspensions. I just leave this as a default. But you can, as it says here, you can set a maximum number of times a customer can suspend their account for each billing period. And then, so basically you get a customer in there and they're just being a turd. You can take action on that, right? So suspensions per billing period. I'll let you guys read through that, but I don't touch any of that unless I have a really, really good reason. Mixed checkout. I do that. Allow multiple subscriptions and products to be purchased simultaneously. So if you only want people to produce or purchase subscription-based products during their checkout, then you don't want to use mixed, right? Or vice versa if they're just non-subscription products. But I don't see a reason why you wouldn't want to be able to buy both at once if I was a customer. relating it to the MyListing Club, for example, you sign up for the club, you have a membership, but also maybe you want to download buy a template. You know, if I had mixed checkout turned off, they would have to make 2 separate purchases. So again, it's easing that friction. All right. Retry failed attempts. Absolutely. If a payment fails, you absolutely want to retry it, capturing that payment. You know, you don't want to, it's just a no-brainer there. I don't think I need to explain that one. Okay, manual renewal payments. I don't mess with any of that stuff. Auto renewal toggle, so I don't mess with any of that stuff. Early renewal, I don't mess with accepting early payment renewals. I've never actually seen that used, so I roll with those settings as you see on the screen there. Synchronize renewals, that is a personal preference. Align subscription renewal to a specific day of the week, month of the year. I don't mess with any of that. Down here, this is a key part of my listing. So if someone buys like your cheapest plan and then later wants to upgrade, or vice versa, they purchase a higher paid plan and then later they want to downgrade, this right here, switch between subscription variations is what you need, between group subscriptions is what you need to configure there. And like I said, we're going to get into this, the listing packages and subscriptions later on. Prorate recurring payment. I just keep saying it. It's a personal preference here. If they upgrade or they downgrade, do you want to credit? First off, it's like you have to enable. Do you want to enable it for upgrades of virtual subscription products only, upgrades of all subscription products, upgrades and downgrades of virtual subscription products? But if I was to check this box right here to allow switching between subscription variations, that's not going to come up very much for MyListing websites. It comes up like on the MyListing Club, for example, because like a variable product in the club, for example, is a starter site. They can go and they can buy a starter site, but then a variable product means they can choose which starter site. Okay, so that won't come into a play for a lot of MyListing websites. But if I was to check that box, then you would get more options here. All right, but for the purposes of this video, we want to cover grouped subscriptions because our listing subscriptions will be a part of a grouped subscription, a grouped product. I will show you that later. And then you just decide, do you want to credit them for upgrades or downgrades or both, whatever you want to do there. So I just leave this as is. I don't want to make this decision for anybody, especially not my decision to make there. Prorate sign-up fee. I leave that as default too. I leave all of this as default. The only thing that I change is I put switch plan in here. So this is the button text they will see on their subscription. I just like to keep that button text shorter and simple, switch plan. That also aligns with what MyListing wants to do using those words, switch plan. Backing up here, do you want to prorate a sign-up fee? Are you going to have sign-up fees on your site? I don't think I've rarely, if ever, I've seen that done on a MyListing website. Prorate a subscription. These tooltips are killing me. WooCommerce. Sorry, I'm trying to just get these tooltips out of my way. There we go. Prorate subscription length. I don't think I've ever seen that mess with either. When switching to a subscription with a length, because we want subscriptions just to go until they cancel them, right? Like, you don't really want to get into the weeds of specifying a subscription is for a month or a year or whatever. I mean, it's typically not the case with MyListing because you just want them to have a listing package, a listing subscription package until they stop paying you. Like, that's it. All right, so I'm going to save changes here. And we are done, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. Like I said, in a future lesson, we will get into building those listing packages, the listing subscriptions, the products, setting up pricing, and all of that. This lesson was just covering all of getting our solid foundation in place for WooCommerce. All right, guys, catch you in the next video. See ya.